Welcome to the Nontendo Podcast, episode nothing. I want to talk for a little bit. We have some things to catch up on. I want to make this as quick as possible. I tried doing this once already and I rambled for 20 minutes. So let's see if I can keep it shorter. I want to apologize first up for the last month and a half-ish of no content. I have an excuse. I don't like that I have one. I don't like excuses. But if you saw the video on my main channel by now about my friend Billy, you'll know that I spent most of last month in Texas, about 2.5 weeks total, which overlapped several Thursdays. And then to be honest, the Thursdays that I was home around that or after that, it was very heavy and a lot of things were happening and I just didn't feel like it. I mean, lack of a better. And I did try to update Discord and Twitter where possible, but it did also feel like an overwhelming effort to try and tell everybody that listened, all like 50,000 people that listen every week-ish, roughly, why I wasn't doing the show. So that is why, and I do sincerely apologize. There's also a whole nother aspect that our son, our beautiful little baby boy, is 5 months old now, and he is more demanding than ever. The amount that he needs attention-wise and love-wise has skyrocketed, and trying to tag team that with Kim, it has really thrown off any kind of schedule and work load that I usually do and had, and that's the thing with the podcast. For 3 years now, we've been doing this podcast one way or another, and we haven't really missed episodes. Very rarely. We've moved sometimes to correlate with the Nintendo Direct, but missing them just hasn't really happened or ever been an option. And it was great. It's the one consistent in my life for the last 3 years, the one thing that I always stuck to. The podcast was going to be on Thursday at 3 p.m., or we messed around with trying 5 p.m. and 6 p.m. so that Kim could help out as crew started dwindling on the podcast. So we played around a bit, but we never missed. It was something I took very seriously. I do and I have and I will and I always have and I always will and I have and I will. So I apologize for missing so much, and I would love to sit here and be like, but we're back, but we're not. In fact, that's the main thing I want to talk about today. The first part was apologizing for the last month. The second part is apologizing for the rest of forever. Why does this feel like when Bob quit? I'm not quitting yet, but we do need to have a conversation because something needs to change. And this is the part of the video I'm going to try and keep shorter than last time I recorded it. Long story short, you guys know that the show to begin with was me and Bob, and we had some crew in the room, and through that, I really fell in love with the idea of having people on and off camera that contributed to the conversation. It added a really nice vibe, and the in-person aspect of the show has always been the key to its success and the key to what makes me excited about the show. Because for the entire time that this podcast has been a thing, was determined to do as little, if not no, remote episodes. Because it's just not what I'm looking to create when it comes to something different and something new and something exciting alongside my regular content. When it comes to a podcast, everyone, for the most part, does things on Discord or Zoom or online because everyone can. And I'm not shaming those people because we have a lot of great content from a lot of great podcasts because online makes it a reality, makes it a possibility. But that's not the show I've ever wanted to create. I mean, if you think back to the last 3 years of this show and you think to some of your favorite moments of the podcast, even your top 10, I can guarantee you they were all in-person moments. And none were Bob and I did remote a lot. We did quite a lot of remote episodes. And, I did some on my own since then with people online. And I know that, none of those are my favorites. And I'm pretty sure none of those were yours either, because that's not where this show is. That's not what this show hits its stride. And that's not the content that I've enjoyed creating. So once, things with Bob happened, and he stepped away, I was like, okay, well, I like the idea of having the crew. And I brought in guest hosts every week, and we kept the crew. And then when that got too much, we just stepped down to me and the crew. And I actually thought that worked really well as well, And even once we moved away from the studio and started doing it at my house, I still liked it. I still was like, oh, this is still fun. I get to sit here with a microphone and talk about Nintendo, and my friends are in the room, and we get to joke and laugh and have a good time. Unfortunately, all those friends have not moved on, but, lack of a better word, Ham found his way to California to chase his dreams, and he's doing amazing out there. And Bingle Fried Biscuits, who became such an integral and staple part of the show over the last few months, has now got a full-time job, which I'm really super happy for him, because he's been trying to get that for a while. And I guess the point I'm trying to get to here is there's no one left. Lack of a better. And even if there was, and like Max has offered to come down again when he can, it's more, and I've known this for a while, but the show that happens every week at a certain time, that is a podcast that needs structure, should not be dependent on anyone just making it that week. Especially when these people live in Brooklyn and have to drive all the way down, or New York. Like, it shouldn't be dependent on someone needing to travel for 6 hours. Same goes to me going the other way. I can't make that trip anymore, especially now that we have the baby, because it's too much, and I did it for so long. So the reality is, the show, if it continues, needs something more stable. It needs something more reliable. It can't be every week you don't know who's going to be on the show and you don't know who's going to show up, And if Kim and I had more time and there wasn't the baby involved and all of that, then maybe Kim and I could commit to doing that here in my house, but that's just not the reality. The reality is something needs to change, because at this point, it's just me and a microphone in my basement, which was my fear this whole time. Like if I was to do an episode today, it's Thursday today, an episode day, this is the episode, because there's no one, So here's where I'm at, and here's the option that I'm going to pass on to you guys, but in general, here's where I'm at. Option A, and it does hurt me to even suggest this, but it's not an option, and not one that I've considered many times. We pack it in. We've done this for 3 years. We fought for the last year and a half to keep the show going, and we've done great. We passed 100,000 subscribers in that time. The last few episodes we did had high, regular, normal 50,000 views, and we're still always in the top of the Apple charts, which I'm so proud of and I'm so thankful for. I think, I don't think I'm speaking out of turn when I say that we're still like the second most popular Nintendo podcast in the world. At least if the Apple charts aren't lying to me, beaten only by our buddy Logan over at IGN, who has a leg up because, let's be honest, it's IGN. But also he does great work, and that show is awesome and feels very official. I'm just a guy with a microphone, and we've managed to hang in there, and that's incredible. And I'm so thankful for the last 3 years. And if ultimately it's time to hang up the Nontendo hat and say, hey, I gave it my all. I thought this show was over when Bob left, and we're still here a year and a half later. We've almost done as many episodes post Bob as we did with him. That's how long we kept going afterwards. And I'm so thankful for every moment and every episode and every memory. But I also would be lying if I didn't say that in many ways, the show did become something that I never wanted it to, and that was just another project out of my basement. So, option A is maybe it's time to move on. We're out of people. We're out of conversations. We're out of time. Option B. And I roll my eyes because I know how many times we've done this, and I know how many times we've walked this path, and I know what this means as far as work and effort from me. But option B is we revamp this one more time. The show needs new people, and it needs stable people that can come every week and commit to the show. I'm not saying that people like Bingle or Ham or Max aren't welcome. They would always be welcome, and I would prefer them to always be there. But we do need stable people every week that are willing to be here and be a part of the show. But the thing is, in my house where I do the show, I have a baby and a wife, and I'm talking about hiring new people, and I don't want to just bring people to my house in my basement. That's a bit weird, and I don't love it. So if we fully commit to this one last time, there is a space I have in mind that I could do the show out of, and I could hire people. I could bring new people in, people you haven't seen before, faces you aren't familiar with, but new people that we could get to know and that we might like and we might love. And we try this again. We see where Nontendo can go in a new place. And I know we've done this a lot, but for those that like Ham or like Max or like Bingle, those were 3 people that I brought in recently, and we fell in love with those people and those characters. Granted, they were all my friends. And at this point, I am talking about hiring new people and making new friends. But it's not something I'm considering, and it's not something that I wouldn't do if you guys thought it was a good idea and you wanted to try one last time. But I do think those are the 2 options we have. And I'm very curious to know what you guys think. In the meantime, seeming as that stuff isn't set up and we haven't decided to do that or not, and the reality is right now there is no show because I have no one to do the show with, the show will have to go on pause. And it's also not going to get any easier for me moving into the new year and holiday season and all of that, and trying to find more time to figure this out. So I think what's best is to put this show on pause for a little bit while we decide what to do officially. I'm not going to just end it like this. We'll have to do some kind of final episode if we decide that's it. And then if we don't decide that's it and we want to keep going, then hopefully sometime soon or in the new year, we can try that something new. And believe me, I'm as frustrated about this as a lot of you might be. We scraped and clawed our way through the worst 3 years of the Switch just to get to Switch 2. And then as soon as the Switch 2 comes around and there's nothing but news, we've missed so much in the last month and a half. It feels like we need to pause and take a break from this Nintendo-themed podcast that I love so much and that we've worked so hard to get here. But sometimes life hits you hard, and sometimes life is life. The reality is we're still here, and we can do something with this if it's what you guys want. And I don't know what you guys are going to say about this. I really don't. Because on one hand, I've been here before where I've told you, or we've told you, that the show is ending, and you've said keep it going no matter what. And we made something of it. And we've enjoyed it. And I think it's been good. So on one hand, you guys might just tell me to figure it out, and yet you'll be here for the ride. On the other hand, we've been through so much together. We've changed so many times. I wouldn't be surprised if you guys do tell me maybe it's time to ride off into the sunset and try new things, or focus my efforts on my main channel or my son or something else. I don't know. I don't know what the best option is. I don't know what I should do. And I don't know what you guys are going to want me to do. But I'm a man of the people. And I will most likely do whatever the strongest sentiment is. So I'm really leaving it in your hands in the comment section here, in the Discord, on the Patreon, or wherever else. And by the way, the Patreon, I'm going to pause I should have mentioned that sooner, but I'm going to pause the Patreon while we figure this out. And I know I haven't made episodes in the last month and a half. I will find a way to make that up to all of the Patreons. And if there is a way to like refund or something for the last month, and you would like to do that, then please do whatever that is. I don't know. I'm making things up now. I don't know if that's possible, but if that's not possible, we'll figure it out. All you need to know is I'm going to pause the Patreon while I figure this out. I love and appreciate you all so much. Thank you so much for the last 3 years. Thank you for inspiring me and forcing me to keep this show going when I thought that there was no future for it. It meant a lot to me then, and it's meant a lot to me over the last year and a half. Thank you. Thank you for listening, and thank you for giving me your time every week, and thank you for giving me a chance. This podcast has been a passion project of mine. It's been something that I've refused to let go. It does not do much for me outside of that. You know, my main channel is where I make my income and how I pay my bills. And I take a week off of that every week. Or I take a day off of that every week to do this show because I love it. I would love to see this show be successful. And I've always believed in it. But sometimes life happens. Yeah, that's it. I love you all, and I'll let you know when I know what's happening. Thank you.